This week on the Media Virus podcast, Jeff Bezos thanks everyone for making him so rich that he could build a super cock and fuck space. Alabama council member refuses to resign after N-bomb. For those of you keeping score, that's not 6 better than the H-bomb. And we talked to Delaware State Representative Eric Morrison for some reason. It's the Media Virus podcast. Let's point and laugh at the world burning around us. With executive producer Mike Latoris.
There's a fancy doctor in words, butt crack.
Featuring the diversity duo Stanley McFadden and the lovely and talented Doctor.
Shut the fuck up, Maddie.
And now, spreading the sage nihilism of an aged Gen Xer, your host and mine, the star of our show, the incomparable Maddie Rockdeath.
So anyway.
Hot damn, do we have a fucking show for you people this week. I am Maddie Rockdeath. This is the Media Virus podcast. Please like, follow, subscribe. Please do not give us any cease and desists. That's something we don't want. But if you want to give us a call, it's 646-virus-01. You can do that. You can drop us an email. I don't know where. I have no clue. I tried to email something to ourselves.
Yeah.
And before
and scrape that out, but we'll talk later.
Joining me this week, as always, the executive producer of the Media Virus podcast, the Reverend and Professor Mike Latoris. How you doing, Mike?
Good evening, everybody. I'm good.
That's good, man.
I'm good.
How's your summer going?
Not too bad. Just came off of a week of vacation, and going back wasn't as awful as I would have thought. So,
that's good. So you're back at work now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. I know who's still on vacation. Is the lovely and talented Doctor. How you doing, Doc?
Hey, eat your hearts out, guys. I'm doing great.
When does school go back into session?
Shut your filthy mouth. I still have about another month.
When do you go? So about another month, and you'll be torturing our youth.
Yes, and they will be torturing me. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I actually had a recent
thugs that get 10 weeks off. What?
Yes, that's us. I had a former student message me on Facebook the other day, and she wanted to get in touch. I was like, so it's nice. Like, they graduate and then they friend me on Facebook. So, and she said, "Oh, are you getting excited for the new freshman?" And I'm like, No, it's July. No, what I am excited for is another gin and tonic. Right? I am
as excited to meet them as they are excited to meet me.
Exactly. Yeah. So I am not there yet.
Now, is French the only subject you teach?
At the moment, yes.
You don't teach English or politics or
I used to teach English. I taught English for a very long time.
English or French, but you don't teach anything important like social studies?
No.
Okay. What about, all right, well,
no, nothing. And I will tell you that my attitude with a lot of my students is, it's French. I mean, yeah, okay.
Come on, you chose this shit.
You
not chose a useful language like Spanish or Chinese, but no.
Not only did you choose this shit, like, there is no standardized test on this, so come in the class, have a good time, speak French.
Learn how to sweet talk bitches.
Yeah, exactly. I tell them that. I'm like, chicks dig it.
Pepe Le Pew got his. The reason Pepe Le Pew was so forward is he always got what he wanted.
Sure.
When you're used to getting what you want, you just get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of someone who always gets what he wants, is that funny? Big Daddy. How's it going, Big Daddy?
Because slavery has no holidays. I'm still here.
Hey, Big Daddy.
Big Daddy is our BBC correspondent.
That joke worked. It actually landed.
Yes, it did. Sometimes they do work. Sometimes.
And now that Doc knows what that means, it's even funnier.
We ain't talking about the British Broadcasting Corporation. I'll tell you that much.
I ain't British.
I learned so much from being a part of this podcast. So much.
I'm sure that this week's guest would have preferred that this whole show would be going differently at this point, but he just finished his first session of the Delaware legislature. He has served on 5 House committees: Education, Health and Human Development, Labor, Corrections, and Veteran Affairs. Please welcome Representative Eric Morrison. How you doing?
Hello, I'm great. I'm happy to be here, and I appreciated that BBC joke.
Thank you. Well, good. Thanks. Thank you.
I understand that Eric appreciates BBC just as much as I do.
Now, is Jesus Christ? All right.
Right?
I love.
Can I ask real quick?
We thought Doc was going to start off with the.
Big Daddy, I want to ask a serious question, please.
Okay.
If you could tell me what is the proper way to address? Would it be Assemblyman? Would it be Would it be Representative Morrison? What do we get everything right so far?
Yeah, Representative Morrison is good, or Eric. I don't. Yeah, whatever
Okay.
is good.
All right.
I try. You know, it's funny. Once I got into office, I tried to convince my family that they all had to call me the Honorable Eric, but they didn't go for it.
Lord Eric.
I have actually gotten my mother to call me Dr. Daughter.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dr. Daughter's adorable.
I
Yeah.
want to thank you so much for coming on. I did notice that you are a member of the Democratic Party, so hail Satan.
Yes.
There you go. See, told you. Everybody laughs at you when I say the Democratic Party is just, the political arm of Satan's minions. Nobody believes me. And there it is. There it is. So now you've had a year to implement your role in the communist agenda. You seem to be doing a great job. How have the lobbyists been to you?
It's been a really weird session because, our session, of course, is January to June. A lot of people don't realize that the session technically is 2 years. So it's 2020 to 2022, but we also called this 6 months a session. It's kind of weird. But in the 6 months, it's been weird because of COVID. We didn't actually go back in person until I think May. So the lobbyists really didn't, we weren't walking into a throng of lobbyists. And
you weren't able to line your pockets quickly with
with what, sandwiches, bagels.
I mean,
Dude, you get bagels? I mean, as a teacher, I gotta say, that's pretty
No,
special.
We had lunch brought in a few times. I mean, especially like the last night, actually this year it was the next to the last night that we went late. But yeah, lots of emails, lots of meetings, and there's good lobbyists out there actually. They believe me, there are bad lobbyists, but there are good lobbyists. You got lobbyists for environmental groups and women's rights groups and all that.
The tobacco lobby.
The tobacco lobby.
Yeah, the tobacco lobby. There's the alcohol lobby, the cannabis lobby.
Yeah,
Big pharma, big oil.
Healthcare, health insurance, police.
I don't know his health insurance. They're paying you to keep it from going public. They're like, now you got to stop this.
Oh
shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm very, and I'm very proud. During the campaign, our campaign, we got over 99.8% of our contributions came from individual donors. We don't take their money. So
That's right.
I returned a lot of checks.
You didn't get any.
Oh no. Well, a lot of people knew who I was and what I stand for, so they didn't try. But there are a number of checks I stuck back in an envelope and sent back to them.
Oh, well, good for you.
Yeah.
Good job. That's
Right
a hard
on.
thing to do.
It is, especially when they're maxing out to you at $600. You're sending a $600 check back. But hey.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk
but because of you, right? And one of the bills that you helped push through, if I read everything correctly, if you did accept that $600, you may have been able to use that money for childcare.
That was a bill I didn't work on it per se, but I did vote for it. I think I was a co-sponsor. Yeah, it really is, and I wasn't aware of this that much, and especially not being a woman, not being a mother. But yeah, I mean, when you think about it, when you have to go knock doors, when you have to go attend community events and such, childcare can be a big obstacle, especially for female candidates. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool bill.
Well, I mean, if I were like a single dad running for something, would I, and like, I guess I would be able to hire a nanny with really big titties.
Oh my God.
Right?
You could.
That's that's the first thing I look for, so that I can use my nanny cam appropriately. I think I'm using that correctly.
Well, being gay, I would never look for that personally. But hey, whoever's the best qualified, I think that's what you go with, right?
Regardless of boob size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she had huge qualifications.
Well, maybe we can talk some more about this after our first break, shall we?
Absolutely. That sounds like a plan. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Media Virus Podcast on the Media Virus Podcast Network. You can reach us at 1-646-VIRUS-01. That's 1-646-VIRUS-01. We'll be back right after this.
Send help.
So I bought this new toy at Five Below. It's a cool fucking thing. It holds your phone up. And, I just want to kind of fucking see how that thing works, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to be the type of dude that makes videos in his truck. I want to give you my opinions while sitting in an automobile. Because those are very popular videos. And they're stupid.
And we're back on the Media Virus Podcast.
All right. So we're here with Representative Eric Morrison, and he was about to give us some inside tricks on how to get no bid government contracts and get involved with kickbacks.
Absolutely. I'm all about that. No, I wouldn't have the slightest clue. I mean, like I said, we might get lunch down there once in a while. That's the most I've been treated to.
So I do have some questions
Who's
for you.
Who's providing that lunch? There's no such thing as a free lunch.
It was the teacher's lobby.
I don't know. One, too, it's cool. Like legislators will do things
money.
like bring in stuff like from like local businesses. So they'll bring in, like, if you live in like Serpy's area, somebody brought in their famous tomato pie, and somebody brought in sweets and this and that. So I got to find a good place. Actually, there's a good place in my district to bring stuff from. So.
And where exactly is your district? I did look up District 27. I looked up the representative, the way it breaks out. It doesn't seem to make any real sense of the numbering, but
that's because of Republican gerrymandering.
Well, so we're actually, I said, it's been a hell of a year for those of us. It was kind of cool because 4 of us who ran unseated incumbents this year, which is completely, totally unheard of. There were 4 progressives and all of us won. And then a 5th progressive won in a 3-way contest for a seat where somebody retired. So it was pretty awesome, but it was so unique because, first of all, COVID, which threw a monkey wrench not just into our campaigns, but into the legislative session. And also now we have to redistrict. So we have to redistrict, and our districts will look different, and hopefully none of us will get drawn out of our districts. And then every rep and every senator is up for election in 2022, no matter if they normally would be or not. So, wow. But yeah, my district it's parts of Newark, Bear, and Glasgow. It's mainly the Glasgow area. But yeah, the districts don't always make sense where they're cut up. They do try to follow per the Delaware state constitution. Actually, there's all kinds of things set up, but they do have to try to follow natural boundaries. So like for me, I come along the Maryland border by Elkton where I live. And then I don't go below the C&D canal. So they try to make some sense of it.
Right. And I know that the first time I saw one of your signs when you were campaigning, I got so excited. I'd just been down to Lum's Pond. And you had signs up. I was like, oh my God, it's Eric. I know him.
Speaking of boundaries,
vote for Eric Morrison.
Speaking of boundaries, I have this list of things I'd like to propose to you. of things that you might be able to bring up. And
I'll take notes.
The first one is, where are we with invading Maryland and making this whole peninsula Delaware?
I actually want to go further. I want to throw Virginia in there.
I don't know. I like the Eastern Shore idea. I don't know if we want mainland Maryland at this point, but the Eastern Shore, they seem to be amenable to that.
But why is this peninsula carved up with this unnatural borders? Delaware has the weirdest border, like the straightest. There's an arc. We have a dome on top, two straight lines, the shore, and then like where it meets Pennsylvania somehow. Like it's
the shore makes sense. I mean, like the shoreline makes sense, but I mean, and
we'll never take
square.
I think Virginia is a bad idea. You can't go after. I think Virginia and Pennsylvania are lofty goals, but we got to go for Maryland first.
At least the Eastern Shore. They're going to be down for it.
Right.
I'm down for the crabs.
We annexed the Eastern Shore, and
they actually talked about seceding and joining Delaware a while back.
Cool.
Wow.
So we'll be welcomed like heroes. I'm making a lot of references. I hope people get them.
We'll bring Scrapple. Welcome like heroes. I get that. Huh.
We'll bring them freedom, just like we do all around the world, right?
Yes.
No,
yes. And
freedom.
tax-free shopping.
Yeah, tax-free shopping. Yes.
Yeah.
As far as the borders go, the long straight line on our western side is part of the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah, I knew that.
That's true.
As is the little that adjoins that line to the
little witch mic.
The little that adjoins the western straight line border out to the arc, with the 12-mile arc that's measured from the courthouse in Old Newcastle.
Oh,
cool. Mike knows a lot of stuff.
I did want to propose. I want to get in because this next one does have to do with states and borders and such. But I wanted to just make sure that you knew about this particular point because it makes it easier to understand. It's a mandatory open carry is what we have to require every citizen to not only be armed, but to be displaying it so that we all know each other. Because an armed society is a polite society. Okay.
There is some truth there.
Hang on, but if everyone is armed, if we had a law requiring every armed citizen within the borders of Delaware to open fire on vehicles with New Jersey tags, we can keep them the fuck out. Okay. And then as we expand our borders, we'll eliminate Maryland by assimilation. Okay. Because we're going to take Maryland. So Maryland doesn't have plates anymore. So we don't have to worry about Maryland plates. Because we can teach them how to drive. Because people from Maryland, I know I said that you're originally from Maryland. That means I know that you cannot drive. But I'm from New Jersey. But
Eric's not from Maryland. You're from Slower Lower, aren't you, Eric?
Yeah.
I thought
actually, I was born technically though in Salisbury, Maryland, because back then
once you've touched Maryland, like that's you're from Maryland. I'm sorry, you're a citizen of the United States at least. From Maryland.
I have to tell you, there was this argument about arming teachers, a couple of years ago, and my argument for that was, do you guys know how many times in a day I lose my phone? I mean, like, I actually have to assign a student to.
You're not going to be fucking playing Candy Crush on your gun.
I have to assign a student. It doesn't matter. My phone. I have a student whose job it is to keep track of where I put down my coffee cup, so that when I, panic because I can't find it, they can say to me, "It's over there," or like pencil. Like a person like me should not have a gun. It's not a good idea.
If we had gun training in civics class freshman year of high school, taught these children how to operate a firearm, taught them what the rules of shooting are, what you'd be able to do is take your gun. Oh, you might lose it. Okay, you give it to the student you trust the most.
Oh God.
Well, everybody's armed anyway.
So this brings me to an interesting point. All this talk about bearing arms.
Hold my 9, I'll be back.
Where do you stand on arming bears?
Arming bear. Well, they don't have. Do they have opposable thumbs?
It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Well, are you talking now? Here's a question. So, are you talking about bears, the animals, or gay bears?
Either way.
Or
Either way.
Chicago Bears.
Or Chicago Bears. Yes, I understand they're a terrific baseball team.
Wait a minute. She got that joke.
Yeah. And I don't think we should discriminate against the bears either way, whether they're actual bears or gay bears or any other type of bear.
Chocolate bears, yeah. Or chocolate gay bears.
I like to think of myself as a silver fox. Not
Wait,
So wait,
you can't be a silver fox.
Why?
Yes, he can.
Silver fox was the name that I assigned to older women's vaginas.
Wouldn't that be
Because
cool?
they have gray hair. Because they have gray hair down there. There's a longer story that goes along with this, but that's what I call them, silver fox.
All right, I have a question. Is there any room in this interview for actual serious questions for Eric, or are we just doing this the whole time? I just need to know if I should abandon my notes.
I have serious questions.
We've had our fun.
Okay.
I haven't had my fun with racial jokes that make everyone uncomfortable.
Well, now is your time to shine.
Yes. So something that what would be something that surprised you in a good way and something that surprised you in a bad way about your term thus far?
I like those questions.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Something that surprised him.
About what?
Something that surprised me in a good way and something that surprised me in a bad way. Something that surprised me in a good way, I guess, is that everyone in Dover is generally pretty good about, once you leave the chamber or once you leave caucus or whatever, that you leave whatever happened behind. And that's not always easy, and that doesn't always happen. And sometimes it takes a few days for people to get over stuff. But we joke with our Republicans across the aisle, some of them, and you kind of have to work together, and you all know where you stand, and I'm not going to go in there and change some ultra conservative Republican's mind about a woman's right to choose or something like that. So you still want to be friendly and be cordial and have a little bit of fun and all that. So that surprised me. That was pretty cool. The thing that surprised me, I don't know if I'd say it's bad, but I've been an activist for at state and local level for 4 years before I ran for office, in politics and campaigns. But I had never realized, and you can't until you get in there, why it takes legislation so long to get through, and things like that. I mean, like the minimum wage bill we just passed that I worked on. Thank God we finally passed it, but there's so much behind a piece of legislation. So that's been a big learning curve for me.
What would you change in the process, I guess, of how would you streamline the process of, I suppose, running shit?
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to make a better question, but I can't think of a way to say, how would you streamline the process of getting shit done? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. And I'll say one thing I've learned is there are reasons sometimes why it takes a while to get shit done. And some of those reasons are good because, you don't want something just shoved through and not have the public heard on it and not have stakeholders heard on it. And you don't want one chamber shoving everything through. One thing I would do to streamline, I don't know if it's streamlining, but I'm outspoken. I'm very outspoken, and I'm critical of both parties and all of that stuff. And that's who I am, because it's about issues and individuals for me. And one thing that bothers me is, there are bills that get held up in, nobody wants to talk about it, but bills that get held up in committees or bills that don't make it to the floor because certain people don't want that to happen because they don't like those bills for whatever reason. And some of it's party related, some of it's issue related. And I don't like that. I think every bill, deserves to get out there and get a vote. And I think that constituents deserve to know where their legislators stand on it, be on the record about it. I think that every bill should get a fair shot, and they shouldn't get held up because one person doesn't like it or a certain group doesn't like it, or because, hey, you're not in our party.
So speaking
Real
of
quick,
bills,
if I don't, just if I may, in your, I guess, state of the district, newsletter that I was able to get, you, the only mention of cannabis was just the word cannabis in there. How far away are we from? You talk about how things move slowly. How far away are we from legislating, like decriminalizing,
legalizing recreational pot is what Maddie wants to
legalizing
know.
recreational? Like how much has the attitude shifted since the last,
Round
this came up? I
Yeah.
guess.
And I'll tell you, there were a couple of things that really gutted me in terms of legislation this time, and this was one of them. Because again, this is something I fought for several years, and I really, I thought it had it had the best chance this year of any. The one thing though is that actually, out of all the progressives that got in, cannabis legalization only picked up one net vote. So in other words, the other four, they were replacing people who favored it anyway. I was actually the only net vote because the guy I replaced, although he was a Democrat, was dead set against cannabis legalization. So they did pick up a vote there. What really happened, I think, this year is that the bill this year, and Representative Ed Osinski, who is the sponsor of it, just did an incredible job, and no one will know how hard he worked. And I had meetings with him and just worked so hard. It was a big bill. It was like, it's 40 some pages, which is unheard of in Delaware.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. And a lot of it is because they went out of their way to build in a lot of social equity pieces. So for example, let's be fair. It's largely been Black people, communities of color, and people of a lower socioeconomic status who have been disproportionately negatively affected by our archaic cannabis laws that are still in place. So trying to get them first dibs at dispensaries, for example. So a lot of social equity pieces in there. And it all kind of fell apart because, and I think this is all public knowledge, I'm not spilling anything, kind of last minute, the state jumped in and said, hey, wait a second, for one of these social equity pieces, it says that the state's going to give loans to certain people to open dispensaries. So according to the rules, if you're going to do that, you need a 3/4 vote. Well, there's no way in hell we're getting a 3/4 vote on this bill. It's hard enough to get a 2/3 vote, which is what we needed. So the sponsor said, okay, we'll pull that part out. Well, then that upset some people who wanted that social equity piece in there. And they said, we're not going to vote for this bill if you pull it out. So then we didn't have our 2/3. Plus, like 10 amendments were introduced last minute. It just turned into a mess. And it was just best because if we put it on the floor this time and it got voted down, we couldn't bring it up again next year. We would have to wait till the year after. So now, because it didn't come out for a full vote, we can work on it again next year, getting it through.
That's
So it's not dead in the water. It's not DOA.
I'm sorry.
No.
It's not dead in the water.
No. It's not.
It's still, you couldn't have gotten.
They made strategic moves to keep it alive, in fact.
Right.
But that's a
exactly.
fantastic, Eric, that's such a fantastic illustration of what you were just talking about the ins and outs of how things get passed and how things get voted on. That's a really fascinating illustration of that.
Yeah. You
I
please
feel like-
some people, you piss off some people. It's
Right. Yeah. You can't please all the people. Wasn't it Lincoln who said that? You can't please all the people all the time. Yeah.
He also said you shouldn't believe everything you read on the internet.
Yes, I've heard that. So hang on, Eric. I want to.
I just really want to brief on real quick that you had said that they only picked up one net vote, and that net vote was in fact you. So that's a huge stride. I don't think that's I don't think that's something to be downplayed. To say only, I think that's an achievement.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, If I can tell you a really, this is a funny story. So, you know, the guy, the Democratic representative I knocked out, I took out of office. He was so dead set against cannabis legalization. He called it a gateway drug. He refused to discuss it the whole 9 yards. But this is who I replaced, right? He had been on a trip to Colorado. And when he came back, he said, when I was out in Colorado, I was in Denver and I noticed a lot of homeless people. And Colorado has legal pot. So I'm afraid if we legalize pot in Delaware, we're going to have a lot more homeless people.
You know,
Wow.
Follow that
Colorado
logic.
also has
I can actually explain
homeless-friendly
that logic.
rules that allow the homeless to camp on public property. In some places like Boulder, as long as you roll up to the library by, I think it's like 10 p.m. and set your spot, you can camp in the library's lawn all night.
Yeah. Guys,
okay.
in this room, I have a silver beret. I don't know if you can see it. There it is, a silver beret. And there have never been any homeless people in this room. So if everybody had a silver beret, we could end homelessness.
Well, I did him one better. Not only did I call him out on his ridiculous bullshit line of thought, I actually did a little digging. And since they legalized cannabis in Colorado, the homeless rate has dropped. Now, of course, I realize there's not necessarily any correlation whatsoever.
Well,
there
correlation
either.
does not equal causation, right? There may be a correlation,
yeah.
but it doesn't mean those facts are related.
So, you know,
But it was a great way to further shut down.
I can explain. No, I can explain it. Here it is. Yes. If you legalize cannabis, you're going to have less homeless people. Because when you get stoned, you want to build shit. Okay? Yep. So then these fucking homeless people are getting fucking stoned. They're going to Lowe's. They're asking for money. They're buying fucking tools, and then they're building houses.
That's right. Pot
there
doesn't
you go.
lead to other drugs. It leads to carpentry.
That's right.
Yes.
It's a gateway drug, as in you build gateways, and then the rest of the house.
So hang on, Eric, you and I go way back, as we mentioned. So when I knew you, you were an educator and a performer. So I actually have two questions that stem from that. But at what point did you, and why did you decide to enter politics? So how did you shift from the work that you were doing before and finally say, okay, yeah, all right, I'm going to run for office?
Yeah, I say, and I truly mean this, like if anybody had ever told me I was going to run for any elected office, I would have been like, you're batshit insane. You know, I've always been really, and you know this, Connie, I've always been really active in my community, really ever since I was 13, but, you know, volunteering places and also leading organizations like Delaware Pride. And I'll be honest, that the person I have one of the, what's Bernie? So I have one of those, remember the famous meme with him with the mittens sitting at the inauguration, all like,
yeah.
I had a lady create me one of those and I have him sitting in a chair on the front of my desk because I remember tuning in. I've always followed politics, but I always was like, okay, vote blue no matter who, you know, you're all good. And I tuned into the first 2016 presidential debate because I was like, rah, rah, Hillary, I want to see Hillary. And there was this guy on there and I'm like, who's this old crazy guy? And by the end of the night, I'm like, holy fuck balls. And I sat up half the night researching him. He spoke to me and just everything. And it just completely changed my outlook on everything and on government and everything I've been told. So I volunteered a lot on his campaign. And then when he didn't win, he said, go local. So a group of us, Delaware United, which is still going, we went local and worked really hard on local and state stuff. And I was on that steering committee for 4 years. And the more I learned about my representative, who was a Democrat, but he voted against same-sex marriage. He refused to vote yes or no on banning conversion therapy for LGBTQ youth. He voted against a woman's right to choose. I mean, all these awful things.
Does that happen? I'm sorry. Does that really happen in Delaware? Conversion therapy?
Oh, well, that's the thing is there's no tracking of it per se, but you know, we wanted to make it illegal because there's no real tracking of it. So you don't know. But, you know, not only was he not progressive by any means, you know, and he opposed cannabis legalization. I'm like, he's not even a basic run-of-the-mill Democrat. So I was like, I need to do this. And it just happened. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you also, so I said, we knew each other from the time we were performers. You're obviously a huge gay rights advocate. What can you talk a bit about people's response to you as a politician with a history, as a gay rights advocate, and as a drag queen? I know that there was some ugliness in response to that, but I'm sure that wasn't the full response. So can you talk about that for a little?
What was really cool, I have to say, is like, I didn't go to doors and be like, hey, I want to be your gay rep. It was something we discussed.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, not that. Thank you. Thank you. But I was, how do I put it? I mean, the people that I was campaigning to, I wasn't going to hear a lot of negative things per se, but to Connie's point, yeah. So during the campaign, we held a drag show fundraiser, and I performed as a female impersonator for about 25 years. I actually wasn't even in the show because I like my beard. No, and I just didn't have time to. So I wasn't even in the show. I hosted it as me, and the next thing you know, and I'm campaigning, I don't have time to pay attention to shit between my full-time job and campaigning. The next thing I know, the news journal's calling me. Do you have any comments about such and such? I'm like, what are you talking about? And that's when I learned, like, he had kind of bashed the fundraiser and said, oh, a drag show fundraiser, that's crazy. And I don't think the churches and people in my district would support that, and blah, blah, blah. And the Democratic House caucus, the leadership actually put out a statement condemning what he said and kind of twisted his arm into giving a half-ass apology. And it went international. It was picked up by gay papers and media in the UK, and it was you go Google it, it was everywhere. So yeah, he really kind of put his foot in his mouth on that one. And it was good to get the support, from a lot of people on that.
Do you think that contributed to your win?
It might have, because, and the ironic thing is I know he used to say that the demise of my campaign would be that at some point I would really stick my foot in my mouth. So when he did that, I'm like,
Excellent.
So, I'm sorry. It's a 2-year term, right?
Yeah, for reps. Yeah.
For reps. And who's coming for your job?
Good question. I mean, I don't know if anybody will. I wouldn't be surprised if a more centrist Democrat did. I'm extremely outspoken. I'm very progressive. But at the same time, I campaigned on that. I didn't hide who I was at the doors in the least, or on our phone calls. So you don't
think this dude's like trying to rebuild or rebrand?
No. I can't imagine.
You don't think the Republican machine's trying to mill someone to?
Well, and that could happen as well. And I did have a Republican opponent, but this district actually is 2-1 Democrat. We have basically it's 50% Democrat, 25% Republicans, 25% other, and a whole lot of those others lean left. So the chances of a Republican winning in this district are pretty darn slim as it is. So I would be more, not that I am, but I'd be more concerned about a Democratic primary, somebody from the centrist part.
Do you have anything to say about, I know that there's been a movement in Delaware. We talked about this when we had Kim Stock on, who is a new board member at Brandywine School District, Delaware Teacher of the Year. And she was talking about how the right-wing Republicans are putting these people into local, like they lost the presidential election and they lost they lost Congress. And so they're putting people into local elections, into school boards and things like that. Do you see a threat from that group?
Well, and it's funny because really that's how the Tea Party took over the Republican Party. And that's really how progressives are doing so well now in the Democratic Party. I mean, you never start, from the top up. It just often doesn't work. I mean, Bernie came so close, but this is what you do. You build your benchmark and you get in at the school board level and the county council level and the city council level and the state rep and state senate, and you build up and you build up. You know, I think some of it too, and some of these people are so fucking disturbing. My God,
They're terrifying.
I mean, Lauren Witzke, who
Oh
was
my God.
running, she came after me a number
Not
of
for
times.
nothing, but they feel the same way about you.
But I'm right. But you have people like her. She's a flat earther. She believes the earth is flat. I'm like,
Yeah.
Wow.
What, you
Yeah.
don't believe that it's sitting on top of a turtle, on top of a bigger turtle, on top of a bigger turtle?
It's turtles
You
all
don't
the way
believe that
down,
our
man.
Earth sits on a stack of fucking turtle? What's wrong with you?
I only believe
I
that
saw
when I'm
Pirates of
really
the Caribbean 3 times, and it was clearly a waterfall and a drop off into space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
let me
I've had
just
cats
ask.
for a long time, and I'm here to tell you, if the Earth was flat, we'd have all been pushed off by now.
True.
Yes.
That's a true statement. Well, listen, we have another break coming up after which we'll just spill the tea. But before we do that, Eric, so you've talked about, we talked briefly about did we talk briefly about some of the things that you've accomplished?
Yeah.
I know Maddie sort of put that into our introduction. But go ahead. What are you most proud of? And then what goals do you have for the next round?
Right. So this past time I was most proud of, you know, it's common, and they even said this, that it's common for legislators when you're coming in, newbies, as they call us, you know, the first term, you just kind of sit on the sidelines a little, you pass a super easy piece of legislation, something a little silly, something easy. And they said, none of you did that. We all came in with serious legislation. So I'm really proud that, you know, my first bill, I took completely from concept to getting it written to working with stakeholders. And that was a bill that guarantees students in grades 6 through 12 one excused absence per year to attend a civic engagement activity, meaning visiting a site of historical or cultural significance or attending a rally, a march, or a protest. And we're only the second state in the nation to do that. And the only reason we're second is because some other fucking governor signed it before ours did. We were going to be the first. So, you know, that I was super, super proud of, and proud to have that as my first bill. But I worked on a lot of bills this time, the plastic bag ban bill, the cannabis bill, the minimum wage bill.
Those plastic bags, that pissed a lot of people off.
And the
Oh
whole
my
thing,
God.
and the whole thing is that that's what it was supposed to be 2 years ago. And they found a loophole, and they used thicker bags, which are even so.
Worse, yeah. I know.
So
Well, I mean, I'm just happy we're back to killing trees. It makes me so fucking happy.
Well,
I was like, this plastic shit. Because I mean, not for nothing, but there's nothing like now we have we don't have books, but we can make book covers again.
Right.
You know, we can do that. We can make we got plenty of cover for ugly chicks.
I have been carrying my own reusable bags in the trunk of my car for years now. My combustion engine, non-green car.
We get it, Doc. You're white, okay? We get it.
Yes. I had avocado toast for breakfast this morning.
Big Daddy will tell you
really good.
that
Convertible, so
ugly
it's very
chicks do
aerodynamic.
not like wearing plastic bags. They don't.
Ugly. I specifically saved the plastic bags for the ugly chicks.
Wow.
They fight too much until they stop. Depends on what you like. Well, the paper
And
bag,
then you
they
only
don't fight
have a limited window.
I'm so embarrassed. Okay, so Eric, what's next for you? So you passed the school day, the bill allowing students to take a day for political action, which is fantastic. Yeah. And you were part of the plastic bag ban. So what's next? What's the next goal for you?
There was other legislation. So the thing too is I had 2 bills this year, 3 bills written and ready to go, but for various reasons they didn't end up going in. So they're written and ready to go next session, which is exciting. You know, you go into your first session and it's hard. You're coming right off campaigning. You're not an incumbent who's been working on certain bills for years. You know, so you don't have that. So that's going to be a lot of my focus besides constituent services between now and January is legislation. I'm also really excited. I'm going to be working with Representative Baumbach on the End of Life Options Act. That's something that I'm passionate about. We've got to get through.
Was that like a Right to Die Act?
Yeah. I mean, we hate calling it that, but yeah, it is. Yeah.
Is it like a right to kill the host of your podcast if he pisses you off too many times, Zach?
I can amend it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that.
See, I told you guys he was cool.
Hey, as a nurse, I can administer the drugs.
Excellent.
Woo!
All right, so are we going to have a break and then spill some tea?
Yeah, we'll spill the tea right after this break. If you're enjoying the Media Virus podcast and you liked hearing Representative Eric Morrison say "holy fuck balls," go ahead and share us with your friends so they can hear him say "holy fuck balls" right here on the Media Virus podcast. The podcast that you can reach by dialing 1-646-VIRUS-01. That's 1-646-VIRUS-01. We'll be back right after this.
I think I got me a lazy eye. Like, this side's looking at what I want. I want the camera. This side, I'm looking at something else. I don't even know what the fuck's going on, man. How am I supposed to make videos in my automobile and give my opinion if I looking at the camera in a convincing manner?
And we're back on the Media Virus podcast, and the doc is going to spill the tea.
All right, so this is a recurring feature on our show. Some of our listeners may be familiar with the work of James Lipton, a fantastic actor, educator, and interviewer. And he used to do a show called Inside the Actor's Studio. And at the end of each interview, he would ask the same 10 questions of each interviewee. So in his honor, we call this bit Spill the Tea, and they're the same questions that we ask, inspired by James Lipton. So your first question is, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
The very first thing that I wanted to be was a weatherman.
Okay. What did you like about the weatherman?
I don't know. I just saw him on like the local news and I just thought they were really cool and it looked really exciting. And I actually took a couple of meteorology courses in college and they were really neat. It wasn't for me, but yeah, I wanted to be a weatherman.
Wow. And all the way up through college, you held on to that dream, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
You know, Glenn Hurricane Schwartz, like we all thought he was cool.
Not everybody. I had a boyfriend who ever said, he said, if I ever meet Hurricane Schwartz, I'm going to punch him in his fucking face. And I was like, that sounds like a lot of aggression for a weatherman. But I mean, you know.
Who was the other guy back in the day?
Real
good looking dude.
Jim.
My friend partied with him a couple times.
Was it Jim something?
Jim O'Brien?
Yeah.
Wasn't Jim O'Brien.
He was at 6ABC, jumped out of a plane, chute didn't open, didn't bounce.
No. As funny as that is, it's not. Jerry Penacoli had a gerbil stuffed up.
Jerry Penacoli, he's the one I was thinking of.
No, I'm thinking of it was a weatherman. It was him and Hurricane Schwartz, but the other guy who was real good looking. He went to New York for a while.
Yeah. John
It
Belair.
doesn't matter. What's that?
It's John Belaris.
Yeah, it is John. It is John Belaris.
Yeah.
So, Eric, did you have a particular meteorologist hero? Was there one in particular who inspired you?
I think some of it too was like the gay thing. I think like because there were a couple on my local news stations I kind of had a crush on. Because I mean, they don't even use like I don't know if they did then, but they don't even use meteorologists now. They just use it's like a model up there doing the weather.
Yeah,
they don't know shit about weather.
They just have to. They just read it off the cue card.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. What's your favorite smell?
Oh my gosh, my favorite smell.
I love this question because you get such fantastic answers.
Oh my God. I think maybe cooking, like anything I'm cooking, like I've been really into making stir fry lately. But like banana bread, and I don't bake or cook a lot, but like I just love the smell of I've been doing greens lately. But
whenever someone brings up food, I always ask this question. You talk about the smell of food. Bacon and eggs or peppers and onions?
Peppers and onions. I'm vegetarian, so
okay.
Yeah.
I remember actually when we used to live together, when I would cook, was it you or Mikey, are you still in touch with him?
Yeah.
Mikey,
Oh, yeah.
I forget which of you would always say, what smells so good? And I'd be like, onions, garlic and onions, because that's the only thing that's in the pan right now. Yeah, that's a fantastic smell. Like even before you put whatever you're cooking, it's like garlic and onions, and then you figure the rest out.
Right.
Okay. Next question. What about your life makes you happy?
Honestly, and this sounds, corny, but helping people, and it's true. And that's why I got into this. I'll never forget, I worked on a lot of legislators and other people's campaigns before mine, and thank God I did, because I learned a lot about what to do and what not to do. But one of them, and she's still in there, and I still like her a lot, she said to me, she said, Eric, we need more people in Dover who are here for the right reasons. And I'll never forget that. Because she's there for the right reasons. And I know that I'm there for the right reasons. So helping people, and especially during COVID, doing a big part of my job, people don't realize, is constituent services, which is everything from filling in potholes to drainage ditches. But during COVID, it's been so much more. I mean, I've helped people not get their homes foreclosed upon. I've helped a lot of people get their unemployment benefits, and in the meantime, help them get food. I mean, people get food assistance, get their utility bills paid, get them rental and mortgage assistance. So that stuff, it's really just cool to know, like, oh my God, I helped this person keep their home. That feels good.
I think that's something a lot of people forget about representatives and government officials, that you guys actually are there to help, and that, just pick up the phone and call. And, I've heard a lot of stories about reps helping people. So the next question, I feel like you've actually just answered it. The next question is, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, and that's funny, because they always ask that in political circles. And I don't know, it's funny, when I was campaigning, somebody I know came up to me at one event and was like, so what do you really want to be? What do you really want to run for, governor? And I'm like, I was completely stunned, because I said, I'm running for representative, and I want to be the best representative I can be. That's all I'm focused on right now. I would want my legacy, I guess, to be somebody who was outspoken, who was honest. Somebody that people may not have always liked, but always respected. So I think that's what's important to me.
Let's not leave out Conqueror of Maryland.
And looking back, Eric, I mean, you and I lived together for a year, 2 years, something like that. And I know that whatever conflicts we had, there was never any thought in my head that you weren't being honest with me. Like,
Right.
I mean, we had conflicts over things like living, any two people who live together are going to argue over, what happens where and that kind of thing. But,
Right.
But there was
please don't shit in the living room.
Yeah, it bothered me a lot when he did that. When he peed off the porch. I mean, that was,
I think our cats might have done that a couple of times.
Yes, certainly. I was not very good about cleaning out the litter box. But I think that there was never any question of, I think that you're an incredibly honest person and an incredibly forthright person. And I always admired the courage that you have in speaking up. So I think that's awesome. Okay. Just a couple more questions. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? Would he listen, and why or why not?
Good question. To be easier on myself, but no, he would not have listened, because he still doesn't listen today.
If your house were on fire and all living, you don't have to worry about pets or family or anything like that, what are 3 objects that you would save?
2 of them would probably be, I lost my mother as you know, Connie, I think about 1.5 years ago to lung cancer. So I have a mini urn of her ashes, which I actually took to my swearing in. I have a picture I love that I took of our hands the day she died. I have a picture framed of that. So those 2 things. A third thing, I have a real sweet tooth. So if I had like a pie or something, I'd probably fucking grab that.
That
I love that answer.
That reminded me of something I forgot to write down about my proposals. Okay. I don't know if you've seen this phenomenon, but there's a lot of people who want to memorialize loved ones on the back of their automobiles. I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's like, you see in the city a lot, like in loving memory of Poppy.
Tacky.
You know,
The gay
And-
man in me is just like, no, girl, no.
But now, one of my things is that whenever I see that, I'm like, I hope that person actually has a fucking tombstone. Like, I hope there's something somewhere. And I've given my family specific instructions. You are not to memorialize me on the back of an automobile. I don't give a fuck if it's. I don't give a shit if it's a fucking Lexus.
Right.
I don't care if it's a brand new Maserati. I don't care. Do not do that.
No.
But
It's terrible.
I think we should pass legislation that if you are in fact memorializing someone on the back of your car, you should have either their ashes or their body, or just a little bit, maybe a finger, or just a little bit of the ashes in the car. And if you don't, you have to pay a fine.
Or park it where they're buried.
Oh, there you go.
Well, what about
That makes sense too.
Well,
What
because
about
it
if
moves around.
If it's a guy, could you do what some people do with their pickup trucks and have their balls hanging off the back?
Classy. That is classy.
Your loved one's truck nuts.
That's my uncle's nuts.
We could
Oh,
develop
That was a better joke than what I was gonna make.
We could fucking
Damn.
we can fucking sell them. We can
the
fucking
truck
sell them. That's
nut
what we do.
burn. The truck
This is what we
nut
do.
burn.
We make truck nuts where we mold your loved one's ashes into the plastic, so they last forever. And you can hang, and then we'll put the date and the loved one's name right on the back of the sack, like as the hanging sack.
Damn, I am so upset I didn't make that joke first.
Get your Media Virus memorial truck nuts here.
All right. Okay. So I don't know how to recover from that. So I'm just going to move on. All right. We all come to crossroads in our lives. What do you think was your most significant? And where do you think you would be today if you had chosen differently?
That's oh God, I can think of, can I give 3?
Sure.
Well, I guess my first one would be coming out. That was really tough for me. So that would be one. Another one, and Connie,
It's really hard to imagine you in, honestly.
Well, yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, at what age did you come out?
17.
17.
Wow.
What year was it?
It was 2 years ago.
And
No,
to whom did you come out?
it was 92. I came out to my friends in college first.
2017, 92, or 17, 90.
And were they like fucking duh? I mean, or
that was part of the most upsetting part is like everybody, like my brother was the only one who's totally clueless, but he's clueless about a lot of things, but I love him.
God, good.
But yeah, that's the thing. And it's so common. It's like all your family's like, we always thought so. And you're like, really? Like I stressed about this.
Yeah.
But the second one,
I'm sorry. My first teaching job, there was a boy who we were doing Bye Bye Birdie, and it was in the 8th grade, and he went running across he was supposed to be the cop, right? And he's supposed to be very manly, and he went running across the stage saying, "What's up, Birdie is coming!" But I forget the character's name. He's coming, he's coming, and we were all like, "Oh, honey."
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah,
Butch it up.
We don't know if you know, but we all know,
We all
honey.
know.
Yeah. Okay, so number 2.
I gotta tell you, I'm not tough enough to be gay.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I'm not, dude. You know how tough you gotta be to fuck a dude?
I don't. Wait, yes, I
do. 2 of us do.
I do.
Oh, well, anyway, oh my goodness. So the second one, and I was going to say, Connie, you know this better than anybody. So I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for, I don't know, quite a number of years now. And I often, so that was a huge turning point.
I think 15 years at least.
Yeah, I think it's about that.
Now, did you turn to drink before you came out or after?
It was after. I was such a shy and sheltered person. And once I came out, it was like, I just wanted booze and dick. And,
I can relate to that, honestly. I mean, who doesn't want booze and dick?
That's true. But the booze got to be too much, so.
You can't get enough dick, you know what I mean?
That's going to be my new campaign slogan.
I
I'll
can
run
see
for
where
all
I can
fucking
see why
day.
you and Doc were friends. I can see the threads here.
And I guess the third one would be right before I decided to run for office. It was almost like a midlife crisis, but I'd hit this point where I was like, and I work in corporate America, and part of that is for money reasons, to be able to make the kind of money. I'm single.
So wait, what you're saying was that you would work for money.
But it sucks. It really sucks. Like when you have to work for money, when you're only working for money. And that's what I felt like. And I felt like this doesn't fulfill me. And that's when I was like,
right. And when you get paid for the government, you don't have to work.
Nah, well, it's a tool.
That's a joke. I was teasing.
I know. But so to do this, and now I feel like, and I still have my day job and believe me, I'm like, I kill myself between the two different jobs. But I said to somebody recently, I said, there have only been 2 jobs I've had in my life where I felt like I was meant to do them. And one was teaching and one was being a public servant.
Actually, that's a question. Do you get paid as a legislator?
Yes. It's not a lot. It's not something that I could live off of. But yeah, well, you do get paid.
You do get paid, but it's not a lot.
Yeah, but kickbacks and lobbyists help, right? They pad the pocket a little bit.
Not. I mean, really, no. I mean, they can't really give you. They can't really give you money. I mean, they could contribute to your campaign, which is a totally separate thing, and they might take you out to lunch or whatever, that kind of stuff. But
buy you a beach house? Can they buy you a beach house? Because if so, we're going to have a conversation about how I can campaign.
Oh.
Yeah, because I would like a beach house.
I will.
Yeah.
But unlike you, I plan to be a corrupt politician.
I will be your campaign manager. Because I was going to be, back when we had the Dick Moorhead show, I wanted to do, that's I'm referencing a really old thing I used to do. But it was a fictional character named Dick Moorhead, and we wanted to run for governor of Delaware. And the platform was going to be, what's the fucking difference?
What have you got to lose?
What have you got to lose, right?
What have you got to lose?
What have you got to lose? I think that's, I think that's a good campaign.
All right, one more question. Eric, what question do you wish someone would ask you?
Oh. What question do I wish someone would ask me? I guess I don't know if this will sound weird. I wish people asked me more often, how are you doing? In that and maybe a lot of people wish this, but I'll admit, and I'm not crying, trying to cry, but it is hard a lot of times, when you're in office, because understandably, a lot of people want a lot from you and they expect a lot of you, and I'm willing to give that and all that, but it's a lot. I've said like, and I don't mind admitting there were days when I drove home from Dover and cried on the way home because it's so intense and it's so much and so emotional and it's so hard when you're standing up for what you believe in. So I guess I wish sometimes people ask me more like my mom used to do. She'd be like, how are you doing? And I'd be like, fine. And she would go, no, how are you
No,
doing?
really. Yeah.
And I miss that. Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you doing?
It's been a rough few weeks, and decompressing from everything, processing everything, and trying to make that next transition into now I've got to work on legislation before the next session. The last 3 years between the campaign and the learning curve for that and getting elected and all of it, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. So yeah.
Well, Eric, thank you so, so much. So we have another segment coming up after our next break, which will be news. You are absolutely welcome to stick around with us for that portion, or, we know this gets up on a lot of people's bedtime. So if you also want to, bounce at this break, you're welcome to do that. But is there anything that you would like our audience to know before we move into that next break?
Do you have a website, or do you have fundraising, anything like that to give out? Please do it now.
Yeah, and I am going to bounce if that's cool because I have to be at work early. And I still got to do some emails. But I mean, you can. Our campaign website is ericmorrisonforthe27th.com. As far as my state capacity, you can find me. I don't even know the website, but just Google and me, State Representative Eric Morrison. You'll find me on there. Just anybody out there know, if you need help or anything, I will point you in the right direction. I might not always get you the answer you want, but I'll get you an answer.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you. This was a blast.
Thank you.
This was
I
great.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
really enjoyed having you.
All right.
That's
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a
Delaware
great
State
night.
Representative Eric Morrison, everybody.
All right.
Take us
Bye-bye.
into break.
Thank
Mike.
you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Media Virus Podcast. We'd like to thank our special guest, Representative Eric Morrison of the 27th District for the state of Delaware. Thank you much, Eric. You can reach us at 646-VIRUS-01. That's 646-VIRUS-01, and we'll be back right after this.
Don't freak the fuck out. Don't anybody freak the fuck out.
So in that last video, I was looking at the camera and I was wrong. This is the good eye. This the eye is, I'm looking over there. It's still, and they're two different shapes, man. The fuck? How come nobody pointed this out to me before, man? You guys are a bunch of assholes.
And we're back on the Media Virus Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got somebody on the line. That's right, a live phone call to the Media Virus Podcast. It's Andy from British Columbia.
Hey, Andy.
Oh, I'm so excited to be on the radio. This is great.
Radio, huh?
Do they have podcasts up in Canada there, Andy?
Yeah, we have podcasts.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, we do.
You listen to our podcast?
Orca podcast.
What's that?
He said
Oh my
Orca
God.
pod.
Okay, I'm going to stop it with that stuff.
He
So
said Orca.
I'm calling you guys. It's a school night, but I'm calling you guys to have an excuse to have a drink.
Ah, that's a good excuse.
That is a good excuse. It's
What are you drinking, Andy?
This is a Manhattan.
Ooh.
that is
Oh,
one.
that's
Okay.
one of my favorite
Oh yeah,
drinks.
a very
I'm
entry
jealous.
level Manhattan. I'm so excited to talk to you guys. A long time listener, years.
So that means he's listened to like 6 episodes.
It just felt like years, I think.
No, he's talking about in total of.
Oh, like minutes? How many? Yeah.
We've got years
Right.
of content.
We put out way too much.
Maddie, I don't actually know what you guys really talked about on this episode. I don't think you guys have a live feed yet, right? But you had Eric Morrison on?
We absolutely
Yes.
did have Eric Morrison, state representative, Delaware state representative in the United States.
That's awesome. Great job.
No, we thank the doc for you might know her as Connie. We thank her for booking most of the interesting people that we get to talk to.
And keep in mind, it's not quite as prestigious as provincial government officials, but we'll do what we can.
Now,
I mean, otherwise we talk about alcohol and like
the honor was Eric Morrison.
so I have this question: Is domestic whiskey for you, like Canadian whiskey, is it the same shit that we get down here?
I don't know what the doc has told you, but I'm from the States.
Okay.
But people up here drink Crown Royal like water. That is definitely true. It's
So
in every
Crown
house.
Royal is like the official Canadian whiskey.
Good
I
stuff.
think so I don't.
Crown Royals.
I'm not really on the Scotch side. I'm more on the bourbon side.
Yeah. Well, listen, there are some Canadian whiskeys out there. I don't know if you claim to have listened to our show. I used to actually rate cheap whiskeys in the States. Canadian whiskey seems to be the cheapest option. When you get down to $10 a bottle or less, that is Canadian, and it says Canadian. Canadian Mist. Black Velvet doesn't say Canadian, but Black Velvet. And Black Velvet's delicious. But for me, bourbon's a little bit too sweet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that. And really, Manhattans are much more sweet. It's a drink from my youth, you know. And I haven't had one in a long time, but I figured it was a special occasion. What with calling into famous people and everything, so I made myself a fancy drink rather than just breaking a beer or pouring a glass of wine. Or something.
It's a special occasion when you dial 646-virus-01.
So, you know, if I went back to drinks from my childhood, I'd have to drink like St. Ides malt liquor, Crazy Horse malt liquor, and MD 2020. I don't want to be reminded of those times.
That is both terrifying and incredibly enlightening. It explains so much about you, Maddie.
I can claim Bush Light, Miller Light, the occasional swig of Old Granddad.
Old Granddad was a staple when we drank whiskey. We always went with Old Granddad.
Yeah,
one of my favorites.
My first was a Bud Light. What was the name of that terrible, like $3 Thunderbird? Wasn't it?
Ooh, Thunderbird.
Thunderbird was a good option.
Had,
Farm.
The grape skins in the bottle.
Boone's Farm was good. You know, that was always a good $2 bottle of wine. Used to be able to get a cheap 6-pack of Milwaukee's Best.
Oh yeah,
Milwaukee's Best. Fuck yeah, real nice.
Milwaukee's Best Ice had a little more alcohol to it.
These kids today are fucking spoiled. I'll tell you that right now, because they have these things called Natty Daddies.
I don't even know what's a Natty.
Oh, it's a fucking. It's great. It's you know, the Natural Brewing Company, Natural Ice, Natural Light. They put out the Natty Daddy, and it's 8% alcohol. It's technically a malt liquor, and they sell a 15-pack for less than $10 fucking dollars. It's delicious.
Is it?
If you
is
can,
it delicious
if you
the
can
next
drink,
morning? Also,
what's that?
Is it also delicious the next morning?
Yes, it's not as good. It's better in the next morning if you go get a fresh one and open it up.
No, I just meant as it comes back up.
Oh no, you don't want to do that. You got to pace yourself. 15 Natty Daddies can last 2-3 days. You only need like 3.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean?
Going back to my youth, there was also the Natty Bow, which is a regional thing. National Bohemian is a beer that comes from Baltimore. It's just a little bit weaker than piss water, and has a mild amount of fizz to it. You can usually pound back about 12 or 15 of them, and it almost tastes like beer.
Yeah, as I said, I learned so much by being a part of this podcast.
After 15, it almost tastes like beer?
Yep.
We got busted at my friend's house in high school with, I think we had 6 30-packs of a beer called Golden Anniversary.
That's not I don't
I've
think
never
I would
seen it
drink
before,
that.
and I've never seen it again. But my buddy's cousin worked at a liquor store. We were all underage. My buddy's cousin showed up at a liquor store. We gave him whatever the money was. He comes out, and he's fucking. His cousin comes out with the van, opens up the doors, and starts handing us this beer. And I'm like, "What the fuck? Like what? You know?" And he's looking at it, he's like, "What's Golden Anniversary?" And he's like, "Dude, after 3 of them, they taste like Bud." Okay, well. So then we're all in the backyard. Well, this party gets out of hand. My friend's throwing a party while his friends are home. I don't know why he thought this was, his parents were home. I don't know why he thought this was a good idea. So his dad comes out. We used to call his dad Grendel because his dad was like 7 feet tall with like a huge fucking beard and shit. He came out, busted us.
Maddie, aren't you like 7 feet tall with a huge fucking beard and shit?
Mal was much fucking taller. This dude, and he dared to strike him through
some psychiatric stuff here. psychological past influences on Maddie.
So he also looked very, very much like the guy from Amityville Horror, the original. Like that big beard, like the beard, very intimidating character. Anyway, my buddy's walking behind. He's making my buddy carry all this beer in the house. He's confiscating the beer, and he's taking. And him and his mom, and his stepfather and his mom are arguing as he's fucking taking the beer, and he's walking up, and he had this real long yard, and we were all in the backwoods partying. So as he's walking, he's tossing us 6-packs. He's like, whoa, whoa. And so every time Mal turned around, his stepdad turned around, right? He still had beer, but not as much beer as he originally had. And then we used to hang out in their basement and like have parties and shit. They literally kept it downstairs and forgot about it. So then we had beer for weeks to come. And we used to fill the ice. We used to fill the washing machine up with ice and keep the beer in there. And you had a.
You think the ogre was actually like that was his mercy to you? Like I have to get you guys in trouble out here, but I'm going to put it down here and quote forget about it and end quote and just leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, did nobody do laundry in that house?
Well, no, because once you're,
you got to bring that shit indoors so you don't get pulled up.
When you're done with using the washer as a cooler, you got to run a cycle. It gets rid of all the.
I see.
Evidence.
Yeah. Don't wash. A bad place to keep a keg is a bathtub, or either beer is a bathtub. That's a bad place. Hard to get rid of everything, and you shouldn't try to.
Is this pretty much how the Eric Morrison conversation went too?
Very close. Very, very close.
I mean, I asked him hard-hitting questions that were not based in any kind of reality or. I proposed that we should. I proposed that the state of Delaware should invade Maryland just to take because it's a peninsula and it's Delaware and then Delaware stops and then there's Maryland, and I think we should have the whole peninsula. So I think we should invade Maryland. I don't think he was writing things down.
It's not a bad idea. I think
he can always go back and listen.
Yeah.
The border, there's no wall at the border, so the invasion will be very easy.
That's right.
The cops stop you, tell them I'm just driving over the border to get liquor. Because they love that.
We don't even have to do that anymore. We have Sunday sales in Delaware now.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been away too long.
Yeah. You're going to have to come back.
You guys clear up that, what's the name of this podcast?
The media virus.
Yeah, clear up that virus thing, and then maybe I'll come down.
All right. Thank you so much for calling in, Andy.
I think he's actually got to clear up his warrants. You got warrants. That's why you're in Canada, don't you? What?
It was really good talking to you guys. You've made me laugh quite a bit.
Oh,
all right, wonderful. Thank you so much
help.
for being here.
Thanks for calling in.
Absolutely.
All right, bye.
See you when you get back. Draft's over.
Bye-bye.
Oh, now we know the phone system works.
And
Awesome.
we can do a phoner.
We can. So if
I had
you
a
want
raging phoner during the show.
if you all want to join us on the Media Virus podcast, Professor Mike, what should they do?
They should dial 646-VIRUS-01. That's +1 646-VIRUS-01 to reach us right here in the Media Virus studios.
Yay.
We tape Wednesday evenings from 8:30 to, whenever.
Until whenever.
You know how long the show is.
We could actually end it there and save the headlines for the next one.
We could do that.
Or not, you.
Well,
only because we mentioned the Tease 2 stories and the other 2 stories in the teaser were.
We'll go right in.
Let's just fuck with Jeff Bezos real quick because I don't know. I had this whole thing in my head about Jeff Bezos and like maybe doing like an 80s montage to Walking on Sunshine by was it Carolina in the Waves? And
Katrina in the Waves.
Katrina in the Waves.
Yes.
And which now sounds like it could have been a terrible joke.
Yes, it does. Jesus.
But you ain't walking on sunshine now, are you, bitch? Anyway, so Jeff Bezos just in the mirror, like dressed up in his spacesuit, just trying on different hats. I'm walking on sunshine.
Until he gets the helmet.
Like he starts off with the astronaut helmet.
Oh, he should try hats on top of it.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Like I was thinking, he looks at the astronaut helmet and he just does like an exaggerated, like he's got a snarl on his face. He's like, no, and he goes and gets a fedora.
Yeah, but this, guys, I have not heard this before, and this fucking blows my mind. I want to thank every Amazon employee and every Amazon customer because you guys paid for all this. Holy fucking shit. Holy shit. Like fucking.
It's your fault.
Thanks for making me so rich. I built a super cock and fucked space.
Because I don't want to pay my employees a living wage. Wow. That is fucking phenomenal. I want you all to know I have actually canceled my subscribe and save, which I've been doing for years. And it's not a lot. It's like my dog food, my cat, like the stuff that I don't want to buy at the grocery store. And I went and I actually found another online vendor, which I hope they're better. But yeah, I decided Amazon was really getting enough of my money.
So Tulsi Gabbard had a really interesting bit to say. The only problem I have with Bezos' Blue Origin space rocket ship into outer space is that it's going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
She got a little bit of attitude, huh?
Isn't that what we were all thinking, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think so. I think we all had that thought, yeah.
But him, like, seriously, is there a picture of him wearing that fucking hat?
That one?
That one?
Oh my God, dude, seriously.
Wow.
Why? What?
And then I want to thank every Amazon employee and every Amazon customer because you guys paid for all of this. So seriously, for every Amazon customer out there and every Amazon employee, thank you from the bottom of my heart very much. And then I want to thank.
So because we've talked about amazing ladies on the show, I just want to point out Wally Funk at 82, the oldest person in space. She was, if you don't know about Wally Funk, you should check her out. She was an amazing pilot through World War II. It's an amazing story. She's a very, very special aviator.
Well, that's very nice.
I'm not a dick all the time.
No, you're not. Just sometimes.
And then the last thing that we had after we fucked space with a giant Amazon super dick, white Alabama councilman who used the N-word at a council meeting says he won't resign.
Of course not.
Well, I mean, he's representing his constituents, right?
Now, here's the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
The fun part is not only is there video of him saying it, but he is quoting someone else. So he is quoting what he has heard the mayor say.
Okay.
And
The N-word.
I mean, I know I'm
no, let's not. Here's the thing. It's hard R, man. I don't know. I said there was video. That's my fault. I don't know if we should play that.
Would she please stand up?
I think we skipped over it. I think we're good.
You talked through it, but yeah, wow.
Did I talk through it good?
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
And it does say the video below contains offensive language, so
Yeah.
a little late for
We've
Wait
never
for a trigger
shied-
warning for us.
We've never shied from offensive language here.
No, that's true. We haven't.
I'll be honest. It's
Not one fucking time.
the hard R. I always cringe.
Yeah.
The hard R
Yeah.
always makes me
Wow.
just. It goes up my back.
Mm.
The hard R and the second F.
Sometimes, wait, I can't. I need to make that joke work.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out what the second F is.
Well, there's the first F word.
Yeah.
Is fuck.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. I don't mind the fuck word so bad. The second F word.
You don't have that big of a problem with it until you say it, and I've got to cut it out.
Well.
Oh wait, is this the one that refers to men who prefer the
bundle
company
of
of other
sticks.
men?
Yeah.
Bundle of six. Yes. Okay.
In England,
Polite parlor.
you would ask for a cigarette.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So-
All right.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
So in that one skit where there's a certain character that used that word repeatedly,
He may have
was
just wanted to
that
smoke.
hard to listen to?
All right. So
that
guys.
was in a previous iteration. Listeners of this show might not.
All right, guys. I would
understand
say
what
I
we're
think we
talking
have
about.
had an awesome show. We've had
Yeah.
a great time. We had Representative Eric Morrison on the show. We had our first caller. All very exciting stuff.
I'm upset that we did not get to play. That story robbed us of Guess the N-Word. I like to play Guess the N-Word.
That was a fun game for us.
It's I like it. We try to figure out what N-word they're talking about. And we always seem to land on neighbor. It's always,
Neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right.
Doc went with nachos one time, but we're pretty sure that wasn't it.
No, it wasn't nachos. Oh, okay. I like nachos.
I like nachos.
Yeah.
Wasn't like nachos.
Noodles. Could be noodles.
Noodles.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready to take it home?
Nomenclature.
Just
Let's
to
bring
wait
it home, Mike.
Okay, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the Media Virus Podcast tonight. Tonight, we spoke with State Representative from the 27th District, Eric Morrison. We had a great time with him. Andy from British Columbia, Victoria, British Columbia, called in. We also enjoyed speaking with Andy. And if you enjoyed listening to us, tell your friends, share, give us a call at 646-VIRUS-01. That's 646-VIRUS-01. On behalf of the doctor, Stanley McFadden, our fearless leader, Maddie Rockdeff, I am Professor Mike Latoris. This has been the Media Virus Podcast, and we are going to be out of here as soon as I find my damn cursor and am able to fire off.
I wanted to get on the action with Mike's little dicky.
R.I.P. the Bismarcky.
Little dicky.